Greetings, you sexy bastards. I'm here with a new update about the state of my journey to millions. However the hell this is gonna happen. Man. So I guess I'm like a year and a couple of months in now, and I'm going absolutely nowhere. So last time I talked, it was the garden talk. And I was like, hey, I got this fucking job, and we gotta see if they get funding, but we're basically chilling. Well, turns out they didn't get funding, so I'm fucked. And basically, the whole thing is, if you didn't see that, I got a job as a developer for a startup company called Geolumina that's essentially bringing artificial intelligence to geology, which seemed really cool. It was a great opportunity. I got it through this guy at Kickboxing who just kind of happened to know the CEO, thought my app was really cool, and was like, okay, here you go. And honestly, I think I put a lot of value on this because it felt like it was like, damn, like I'm finally making progress in life. Like I haven't graduated college. I'm going nowhere in life. I took 2 years off to like work construction over quarantine after I graduated high school. And then, yeah, I feel like I've been meandering for fucking years. And not even like meandering. Like I studied when I was working construction, it was a pretty intense period of time in my life. I was sobering up for one, and then I was studying philosophy, and I was working my ass off, and I wasn't going out to parties, I wasn't socializing nearly as much as all my friends were. They were going off doing all these things. Some of it was good stuff like outdoor adventure, but I was like, no, I'm gonna stay home, I'm gonna read, I'm gonna build myself so that after quarantine I can be in a position of strength instead of a position of weakness. And I think that was good. I think I did come out of quarantine in a good position. And then that following year, when I moved to San Luis Obispo, I was again like, I think I got too stuck in that like hermit monk mode mindset where I wasn't going out, I wasn't socializing, I was just staying in my room and I was studying. And I was studying all this philosophy, psychology, and history because I was really passionate about a lot of it, and I was trying to build an online business around that. That continued for about a year, and I made my first attempt with that Pride course. I never even ended up posting it. I've like gradually been releasing it now that I've got my YouTube channel set up. But I was trying to create like an online course. I was trying to get enough knowledge to actually create something unique, which frankly, Pride course was just like, it was, I don't know, it was some interesting ideas. Even now when I'm listening to it, I'm like, these are solid ideas, and a lot of them did formulate or form a good, I guess, foundation for my worldview. But frankly, as I've gone on to experience more and more of life, I found that a lot of those ideas, because I was so attached to them while they had their utility in some circumstances, held me back. And then as I kind of grew away from those ideas, I've grown in other areas of my life, and sometimes I return to those ideas as useful, but sometimes it's like, shit, man, you can be so afraid of. A lot of it was like, see the weakness of success, see the problems that come with success. And when you pay so much attention to the problems that come from success, you start to be afraid of success. You start to be afraid of being somebody that's impressive. You start to be afraid of like having things that inflate your sense of self-worth instead of pursuing those things and being able to remain humble. Anyway, so it creates a lot of fear when you study these people who attained power, attained success, and let it run havoc in their life. But it's important to be aware of that. Anyway, so I was kind of going that direction. I was like, man, I don't love this like content creator, self-development guru lifestyle, and I didn't like that path for me. And I felt more called to engineering. And during that time, I'd started studying coding, and I enjoyed coding. So that summer, after I lived in SLO, I worked construction again, and I grinded on coding. I took 2 boot camps, or like 2 online courses, just intro to coding and then intro to artificial intelligence. I really enjoyed those, and that's when I started studying app development just a month or two after. I studied that for about a year, and that entire time I had no idea where any of that was going. As soon as I finished that app development course through DevSlopes that I was taking, my final project really resonated with me because it was essentially integrating ChatGPT with journaling. And when I integrated these two things, I was able to kind of use that philosophy, psychology, history perspective and like self-development perspective and combine it with this coding thing. And so it was like, holy shit, like this 2.5, 3 year journey just like led to this item or this product or this project that's super meaningful and is very specific to me. So I worked on that for a year. And then, I wanted to create a whole business out of that. But then I started to run into this challenge where I was trying to work on, so I was trying to start actually making money off of it. I was trying to start to produce this. I was trying to start to get users on it. I kept developing, but I was never getting user feedback. I was never getting some idea or any idea of what people actually wanted. And because I never got an idea of what people actually wanted, I didn't really know what directions to go. And so I started to try to do online marketing, and I started getting into the business side of this. And as I started breaking into the business side of this, I got absolutely overwhelmed because I was like, holy shit, like there's so much I still have to learn. I don't know how to market anything. I don't know how to get, influencers. Now it seems like I have to build like this online following anyway, which is kind of like that self-development guru thing. But I hate like making Instagram videos. I kind of like these freeform YouTube videos, but this is different. It's not like I'm making this for, getting a following or whatever. I just sit down, turn on the camera, chit chat, and I enjoy it, and then I throw it on YouTube. Whereas when I'm trying to make content like the Pride course or like those Instagram videos, it's like I've got to do captions and I've got to do little cuts and I've got to put in B-roll and all this bullshit. I've got to script it. I've got to make sure it's directed and to the point, all this bullshit. And I didn't enjoy that at all, to some extent, I guess. I enjoyed some of it. But it's like, okay, so then I have to become a content creator in order to get my users on this app. Either that, or I have to spend a bunch of money to get somebody to market it, and I don't have money to go market it. So I was like, all right, having a job would be fantastic. And and then when you get into like the business side of the app itself, trying to do like basically you have to write all of this code to actually get data from the ways that your users are interacting with the app. It's just crazy, man. And then there's the 90-90 rule, which is like you do 90%. After you do 90% of your development, which is like getting 90% of your app like set up, that last 10% turns out to be like just as much work as that first 90%. And I felt that, bro. It's so tough when you like get your entire app set up and it's like, this shit works so good, and then it's like one little bug that's like fucking terrible requires you to rewrite like half of your code, and that creates like 5 new bugs, and you have to slowly go through this process that takes months, and you're not actually adding any new features. And then you have to like, it's just complicated. And then when I start to get into that 90% and I started looking at this code, it's like, fuck, man, like I can tell a year ago I was a bad programmer. I didn't know how to write good code, and now I have to go through, relearn what my code actually meant and what it actually does. So it's chaos. Anyway, so I ran into a really kind of a doozy of like a stumbling block with Habit Homies. And around that time, this job opportunity presented itself to me. And so I was like, okay, well, it seems like maybe Habit Homies was just a stepping stone. It resonated with the frequency of my soul back then. It felt like something I was called to do, maybe not called to do as the thing that makes me millions, but called to do as the thing that gets me this job. And then with this job, it's like now I'm with entrepreneurs because it's a startup company. It's an opportunity to learn from them, to connect with them, to develop my skills as a programmer. If I'm looking at, my path strategically, I have 3 key strengths. I have internally, I have the skill of programming. I'm relatively good at coding and I enjoy it. The knowledge of philosophy, history, and psychology. I've read a shit ton of books about these things. I've thought about them deeply. I have a unique perspective as a result of that, so I can do something with that, but I've done nothing with that so far. It's just a bunch of useless bullshit in my head right now. And then finally, I have an entrepreneurial spirit or attitude. I do like the entrepreneurial pursuits. I feel driven to create something new, to provide in a unique way. And so taking those 3 things, it's likely that I'm going to try and combine them in some way. And so being in this setting, it's like, hey, I've got the coding and I've got the entrepreneurial spirit is alive in this company, so I would be able to connect with these people, learn from them. It would be an excellent opportunity. And something I think one of my weaknesses is teamwork. I'm fucking terrible on a team. I've never actually worked on a team. I've worked with buddies on small projects, but that's literally it. And even in a coding sense, writing code that works with other people or reading other people's code, that's a whole additional skill. So anyway, this job presented itself, and I met with her, with one of the CEOs, and she was really cool. I just liked her attitude. I liked the way that she talked about her life, all these things. So I was like, this would be a great opportunity. So I took it, and then couple months went by. I was really excited for it, and I think I put a lot of value on it. This is kind of how I opened this whole conversation up, is I put a lot of value on it because it felt like I'd finally actually gone somewhere. Like Habit Homies was just some like little side project I was doing, and I got class credit for it, and that was cool. And it never actually amounted to anything financially beneficial. And I finally got into a state where it's like I actually use it, which is nice. And it does feel like a good app, but it would be a much better app if I was... Anyway, I'm going on a fucking tangent there. The point is, it felt like over the last like 3 or 4 years, really 2 years, let me think. I'd say I really started like being on a good grind like 2021 or 2022, somewhere in there. I guess like it depends, like do you mean philosophy grind? Like that shit started like 2021, I'd say, is when I was like doing good. And then like 2022 is technically when like the coding grind started, but closer to the end of 2022. I took my first coding class at the beginning of 2022, but closer to the end of 2022, like that summer after I lived in SLO, so summer 2022, that's when like I'd say I really started like cranking. I was like, I need to fucking build an online business. I want to do something. I want to go somewhere. I'm going to build this fucking coding skill. I started coding. I built that skill. So halfway through 2022, that's actually that summer. So let's say it's been 2 years, 2.5 years of, honestly, bro, it's been like 3.5 years of like monk mode, I guess, of like seclusion. And even over the last year, like a lot, and I've had tons of excellent experiences. So I think that maybe I'm being a little bit dramatic, but I'd say it feels like 2.5 to 3 years of like pedal to the metal, like hard grind. And this is kind of like the visual I had when I found out this company didn't get funding, was like, I feel like I've had my pedal to the metal, and I've been going like all gas and no brakes for like 2.5 to 3 years. And I've been just spinning my tires in place, going absolutely nowhere. And because of this job, it was kind of like the first time where I felt like, okay, I've actually made tangible, real progress in some external sense, as some like metric of success. And then when that disappears, and realistically, that's just a matter of like bad luck more than, and I have like a spiritual perspective on this that I'll maybe talk about in my like on the nature of God and reality. But in a strategic, practical sense, it's more just like, look, man, it's bad luck. Like they didn't get their funding. That was outside of my control. Shit happens. But it did feel like, fuck, dude, like I've been going all out for so long and it's gone nowhere, and I'm spinning my wheels in place. And then I was talking to a buddy of mine who goes to Denver, and this guy's a proper genius. So it's like kind of hard to compare myself to him. But he's taken full advantage of college. He started, over quarantine, and he came out here and he lived on campus during quarantine. It sucked. He said it was just like, he was not having a good time during that period of time, but he's been fully committed to college this entire time for like 2 years, and he's taken every opportunity he could find through the university. And as a result, he's made really close connections with his teachers. They've opened up opportunities for him. They've gotten him jobs. He's been doing undergraduate research where he's now getting like awards for, and he's going to like these conferences. He's getting invited to these conferences to show off his research. And it's like crazy, bro. But I think like I sit here and I'm like, fuck, man, like I would hang out with him during breaks, and he would play video games all breaks. Like he replayed all of the Assassin's Creed games, and he would watch TV, and he would go out and he would drink, but he just took advantage of the opportunities that college gave him, and he committed fully to that path only. And he prospered a lot. And don't get me wrong, like this guy works his fucking ass off. He's a hard worker. He's incredibly intelligent. But like, if I'm being honest, like I am too. Like I work my ass off, but it's like I'm working my ass off in like all these different things in college, in solo app development, in like philosophy, in online like YouTube content and shit. Like I've spent a ton of time over the last year with online YouTube content, and then like technically all that business side of the app isn't even developing these skills. If I just focused on these skills, maybe I could have gotten into the world of LLM research. I remember when all this LLM stuff started out, I started designing a RAG is research or retrieval augmented generation. So RAG is like a technique used in LLM applications in order to make your responses from the LLM better by whatever metric. And one idea I had for this shit was to fucking to use Neo4j to create a knowledge base and use ChatGPT while you're interacting with it, use all these functions to generate a knowledge graph while you're interacting with ChatGPT, and then use ChatGPT, the API, to go and search that knowledge graph as an approach to RAG, as opposed to using vector-based search, which is kind of what everybody was on last fucking year. And then it's like 3 months later, I started seeing articles about this shit, and I started like seeing early research, and now it's a huge thing, and Neo4j is investing in this shit. And it's like, bro, back then, if I had just been like, fuck it, like I'm going all in on this, and maybe found some opportunity through Boulder, I don't know, who knows, if I had bailed, maybe not on the app could have been a way for me to explore this, but on the business side, or I don't know, and like done less of the philosophy, self-development, and more on the app side and the technology side, opportunities could have opened up. Anyway, so I'm trying to figure out like, why do I feel like my outputs are not equating to the inputs? Is it a question of I need to stay consistent and just keep going and ignore and just be patient? Because sometimes that is the case. Sometimes it's like you've got the right strategy, you got the right approach, you just got to be patient. With this job opportunity, it's like, look, man, I was just kind of unlucky. That sucks. I'll be fine. With the app, it's like if I want to progress that, I can work on it a little bit throughout the year. Although I think to really like make it a good app, maybe I wait until I graduate to do that, work part-time, and then like really reinvest in the app. I don't know. So it's just a question of like, I guess my question right now is there some strategic hole or like some flaw in my strategic thinking over the last like 3 years? Or do I need to just be patient and just keep like marching forward? And what does it look like to keep marching forward? I might work for this AI company for free, but and then like get class credit for that, but it looks like I'm gonna have to work like 18 to 20 hours a week, and I'm taking like 4 or 5 other classes on top of that, and I'm not getting paid. Like that kind of sucks. I'm looking into being a TA for the app class, the iOS app development class here. It would pay decently well. It would be a good way to get a little bit of income coming in, and I could direct a lot of that towards app development, or start saving that for when I graduate, because that's another thing. I graduate in about a year, maybe. I also like, I could go balls deep in like school and just try to graduate by the end of the year. That could also be a good thing to do. Like take 5 classes this semester, 5 classes next semester, be fucking done. And then the following year I could start working, maybe I'm thinking about like, I kind of want to do quantum research through Boulder, and maybe I would do that next year. Maybe, I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe like this next year I just say like, fuck it, dude. Like I'm going to be like the best student I can be. I'm going to make as many connections through the school as I can. And I'm going to take as much advantage of CU Boulder as possible. And honestly, I should probably do that. Like, I think a lot of the tactics that I've been using have been geared towards not going to college. It's all been geared towards, what if I didn't have these resources? But the reality is I do have these resources, and I'm very fortunate and blessed to have these resources. And in some sense, it's like, I feel like I wanted to see if I could succeed without these resources. I think realistically I could, but why try and succeed without these resources when I have these resources? And then if I want to go back to app development, if I want to make use of all that philosophy, psychology, all that bullshit, maybe it comes up again at some point in the future. But for now, maybe I should commit more fully to the college path. I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea. Anyway, but that's kind of this video shouldn't be about like figuring out what the next strategy is. This video is more just that's where I've been. That's how I feel about where I've been. Now I'm at not a crossroads, but just in this weird place where I don't really know what's next. And I got to figure out what's next. And I got to figure out why I'm going nowhere in life. And I got to figure out, do I just need to be patient and keep trusting my process, or do I need to change my process? I think there would be value in honing in on something more specific. I think I might talk to the people at Geolumina and say like, hey, like I know I was gonna work for you guys for free, but like honestly, like I can't do like 18 to 20 hours a week. That's just unrealistic. Can I do like, if I'm working for free, can I do like 2 to 5 hours a week? And during this time, I'll get to know people in the company. I'll get to like play around with the code, see what it's like, learn about your processes. This will almost be like my training. And then when you get funding, hire me on. If you don't, shit, man, whatever. Like at least I got those connections. At least I kind of kept that door open with a low amount of input, I guess. I don't know. I'll have to figure something out though. Anyway, yeah, this has gone pretty long, so we'll see what happens. I'll keep you updated. This is all just a part of the journey, I guess, just being like, what the fuck am I doing? All right, have a good one, folks. Farewell.